and you didn't top up to give out. And that's been something that's been quite close to my heart, is this topping up to give out. If you're not topping yourself up, you're going to have no reserve to give out. So practically, what does that look like? It's actually quite funny. Just this month, I have a new PA, office coordinator, and I sat her down on her second day and I said, I need to tell you the rhythms of my life so that you understand and why I do what I do. Because if I don't do this, it's not good for you and it's not good for the business. And it comes back to that question again of, can I afford not to look after myself? No, you can't, because you have responsibility to those you employ. And often we use our business as an excuse not to look after ourselves. But can you afford not to look after yourself for their benefit? You actually have to look after yourself for them. So it changes this thought pattern around, I'm doing it for them, this busyness thing, but actually looking after your well-being and health, I'm doing it for them too.
Hey everyone, this episode is all about living your life with intention. And joining me to discuss that today is Adele Benvie, who is an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, inspirational speaker, CEO and founder of the Success Company. She consults with many of South Africa's leading companies and entrepreneurs in the area of business growth, customer feedback, as well as team and leadership development to drive business success. In this episode, we cover collaboration versus competition, how to let your business mature, the modern model of business leadership, restructuring your life, the benefits of time away, why aren't you challenging the status quo, living with intention, and changing your state to change your answers. Please check out Adele in the links in the show notes below. I also made reference to a study about judges and ruling in favor or not of certain cases, and I've attached the link to that study as well if you'd like to read up a little bit more about that. Thanks very much, and do me a favor, if you liked this episode, if you found it fruitful and useful, then please, one thing you've got to do for me is share it. Thank you. Enjoy. Adele, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Clinton. Good to be here.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure to have you. Adele, how would you describe what you do for a living to someone you've just met?
100%. I'm a lady of purpose. I live on purpose, and I'm very blessed to have created a business around that. So the purpose that I live with is business impacts lives. And so I'm a businesswoman. I am a mom. I am friend, mother, wife, all of that.
Yes.
But I'm primarily a person of purpose. So everything we do revolves around this belief that everything that we're involved with impacts lives, and how can I make a difference to the lives around me in all spheres of that, even in my business.
Okay.
So businesswoman, I also lead an international organization which also helps business, so it's local and international.
Oh, very cool. Tell me about the business that helps people with their purpose.
Sure. So 25 years ago, decided to take on the roller coaster ride. At that time, it just looked like, joys and joys over and over. But the roller coaster ride of entrepreneurship, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Started the Success Company, and the Success Company has always been about impacting lives. And that's actually our catchphrase, is business impacts lives. So that's our constant anchor, reference points, coming back to that. Are we making a difference? So we focus on leadership development, team development, skills development, and then business growth, accessing new markets, and then placement of individuals. We're not a recruitment company. We place learners and interns on a stipended basis to help, especially SMMEs, where they can't afford the extra staff, but we give them the extra hands for that period of time.
Okay. How long did you say the business has been going?
25 years
25
this year.
years. Wow,
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's
It's
quite
a ride.
something, hey?
It's a ride. I always tell entrepreneurs, you must just know when you start your journey, you're screaming either way.
Yeah.
When you're on the roller coaster, sometimes you're at the top and you're screaming with delight, and then suddenly, oh my goodness, here it goes downhill, and you're screaming because you're terrified, and the next thing you're on the uphill and you're screaming because you're delighted, and we're just having the ride of our lives, and we would not change it for the world. Yeah.
What would 25-year-old business Adele say to 25 years ago starting the Success Company Adele?
Wow, it's a great question. So I think the big thing is to be true to yourself. You know, when you first start your business, you constantly are trying to just find the market that wants you, and you try everything, and even the things that you're not good at, because at the end of the day, they pay the bills, right?
Yeah.
And I think the greatest thing for me was literally saying, what am I good at? What am I called to do? What is the one thing, or what are the things that matter to me? And where should I actually be? And that was the most liberating thing, was picking lanes that are true to yourself and what you bring best to the world, and sticking to that. And when you do more and more of that, you find you attract more and more of that kind of business.
Yeah.
And so instead of attracting the kind of work that you're not good at, I must be honest, you know, we started doing things like, I mean, I don't mind teaching people how to deal with conflicts and all of that, but it's certainly not a space I want to stick in all the time. I'm a much better strategist with innovation and ideas.
Yes.
And so I started bringing in people, and this is the second thing, is collaborate with those who are good at those things. Find people and share the work. No one is a competitor. Everyone is a collaborator. And that's such a different mindset in business, because we see the people as competition. But I realized quite early in my journey that people aren't competition. Bring them in, work alongside them, and still look after the clients that are asking you for these great things. But let someone else who's really good at it do it.
Yeah.
And you stick to what's true to you and what's good to you. Because when you're doing what you love, we know the saying, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's what I would tell my 25-year-old self back then, is do what is good, what you're good at, where you bring the best to the world. Collaborate with people, don't see them as competition, and bring them into those spaces where your clients are asking for those things.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. There's two things that come to mind when you speak on collaboration versus competition. Is competition is that mindset is rooted in a mindset of scarcity. There's not enough to go around.
Yeah.
It's my contract or it's your contract. It's my loss and it's your gain. Whereas collaboration it comes from a mindset of abundance. And there's more than enough to go around, and we can all benefit in some way, shape or form from this industry, from this client, from this whatever. So I think that that's a really, really important point that you just made. And secondly, with respect to employing people, there's nothing wrong with outsourcing the things that you're not good at. And you want to outsource it to somebody who's better at the thing than you are, because
Absolutely.
otherwise then why do it, right? So to employ somebody, they should be better than you at marketing, if that's what they're there for. And I think that's a challenge that a lot of new entrepreneurs find as they start to then scale their business and then have to start to employ people, is I've been having all these balls in the air all the time, and I know about my markets and what makes them tick, and I know how this part of the business works in the accounting, and then they don't let go and let the person who's the expert in that niche area of your business do the job that they're supposed to do. Is that something that resonates with you at all along your journey?
Yeah, I think, when you first start your business, you're so protective of your baby. You've birthed this thing and you've nurtured it and you've fed it and you've looked after it. And then when you start bringing people into your space, it's the most natural thing to say, please treasure it. And this is how it likes to be fed and, cared for. And, we speak about maturity of business. So you've got to take your business from being an infantile business to maturing. And what do you do with a child? You've got to grow that child, and you've got to let them become independent, and you've got to let other people care for that child when they start going to school. And it's the same in business. You have to start relinquishing some sort of hold on every single aspect of that business for that business to mature and to grow beyond its infantile stage. And sometimes we as business owners are the most limiting aspect in our own businesses when we want to control every aspect of it. It will never grow beyond you or your time if you want to control it. And this has been a journey that I did face, yes. I must be honest, I'm on the other side now.
Yes.
I'm on the other side now. To have a business that works for you and you not have to be there for every single aspect is really, really key. And John Maxwell's got a saying that really just, it can haunt you, but it can also challenge you. And it says there's no credit to your leadership ability if you have to touch it for it to move.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this thing of constantly creating a business that you don't have to touch it for it to move has been something that, after the first 5 years of my journey, I really wanted to aspire to that. And so in that vein, bringing in people who are better at things than you is liberating, because you're going, that's wonderful. I don't have to do that. I just need to keep an eye on it, and I just need to watch them excel and put wind under their sails so that they can fly and they can be better. And it's so good to do that. There's also a new concept of leadership that's really become quite popular in the last 7 to 8 years, and that's the concept where we have a center leader who's a great leader, but not necessarily an expert in every field. So it talks exactly to your point. And so you'll have a leader and they'll surround themselves with experts. And this center leader, their job is to bring out the best in that person and give them everything they need so that that person can excel. And it's such a shift in leadership, because we've always thought we have to have all the answers. We've got to be the ones that constantly know it all. That was traditionally the way that we were taught leadership looks like. You should be the one who's at the forefront. But actually, a great leader is the one who can bring out the best in others so that they can excel. And that's also how you create a business that can operate without you, but also a business that can be stronger even when you leave.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful when you do that, when you have enabled people around you to elevate the space and not be dependent on you, but be enabled by you in a good way. So personally, I'm on the other side. I love bringing in people that are better than me at what they do, especially in key roles. But I also love bringing other people who are new to the industry into our business and grooming them and seeing them be better than they were yesterday.
Yeah.
So, and some of those experts that you brought in are the key people then to also groom those people. So it's lovely seeing that cycle and just handing over and just bringing out the best in people.
Do you think entrepreneurs like Richard Branson come to mind, Elon Musk come to mind? Mm-hmm. Elon Musk is certainly not what would you call him, an astrophysicist or a scientist, yet he's got SpaceX.
Exactly.
Richard Branson, for example, I'm not sure, but I'm guessing that he's not a specialist in aviation.
I'm sure he isn't.
Yet you've got Virgin Atlantic.
Yes.
So those types of icons in the business world spring to mind when you talk about that modern style of leadership.
Yes.
Do you think that's fair?
100% right. And I mean, if you look at their empires, if I can call it that, they just keep growing because it's not limited to them, their expertise, their control. They've relinquished that and allowed other people to excel. And that model just allows everything to just literally exponentially grow. So it's a very powerful model. And there's great examples of people who have done it where we can all look at them and go, well, there's proven concept.
Yes.
If it worked for them, it will work for me.
Yeah. So something I've been wrestling with, funny enough, I had this conversation this morning with a client of mine. I've been in business for 10 years as a strength and conditioning specialist, and people come in and they train and they outsource their fitness needs to me, and I give them the tools necessary and train them on the thing that they need to get better at.
Yeah.
So that's them outsourcing to me, an expert who knows that industry better than them. So there's an example. But what I'm wrestling with at the moment is it's time for me to scale. Selling time, scaling, service provider scaling, difficult, crossroads in the business space, right? And I was having a conversation with somebody this morning about the fact that one of the mistakes that I make in terms of my perception is I make the assumption that everybody else thinks the way that I think.
Yes.
And as an entrepreneur, I've never wanted to work for somebody else. It's always been in my DNA that I was going to do my own thing. That is the way that I've always thought. Yet I make the assumption that everybody else thinks the same way, which is an obstacle, a mental barrier that I have to overcome as I go about this journey of scaling, that there are people that don't think like that. In fact, there's lots of them.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of people that are happy with not owning a business and working in a business. What would you say to somebody like me who's in the services sector and we are confronted with this paradox of entrepreneurship mindset versus the other mindset?
It's an interesting thing because we naturally assume same thought patterns, and the thing that I've found is I'm a great visionary, and it sounds like you're in a similar space where you can just see the future and you can create it because you naturally are an entrepreneur. But there are lots of people who look to entrepreneurs and would look to you as an inspirational figure and wanting you to give them the best of you, but follow you and have the comfort and safety of being in your business.
Yeah.
And so we have to allow them that space to be employees, not entrepreneurs, and select people that are the best fit, that they will be loyal to your brand, loyal to you, and will have an amount of entrepreneurial thinking to the point that they are comfortable with, but you are as well. I mean, you don't want someone coming in and also completely taking over and doing things that you aren't ready for either. So it's a fine balance. We want people to think entrepreneurially enough to be able to think like you, to make decisions when they're faced with it in your business when you're not around. But we don't want them to take over either ahead of what you're ready for. And so the best thing that I would say is there would be an understanding that this person wants the comfort of working under someone who is a visionary, but we need to create a space where we give them enough of our mindset so that when you're not around, they think like you, they would make decisions like you, they wouldn't need to check in with you on every single decision. And it's baby steps, so it's about spending time with them, letting them understand your rationale behind making certain decisions. That's a way that you're going to achieve what you want, because you don't want them to constantly be asking every single day, every single question. I mean, in the beginning, you've got coaching that happens, but a year or 2 years into this, you sort of expect them to take initiative as you would as an entrepreneur. Think on your feet, make decisions, but they only feel confidence in making those decisions under your banner, your business, when they think like you and know that they're making it in line with what you'd be happy with. And so they want the comfort, you want the independent thinking. And so how can you create that? Coach, mentor, guide, let them be in your head, let them understand your decision making. Eventually, when they are faced with that particular question or question, throw it back at them, say, what would you do? You've come and asked me, but what do you think? And you might find that they're closer to the point of thinking like you than what you think they are. And then it's a case of just saying, that's a great job. That's exactly what I would have said. Go for it. But now next time when they're faced with that, they won't necessarily need to ask you. So they've got the comfort and the security as an employee, but knowing that they're making the right decisions. But for you, you've also got someone who is thinking on their feet and not relying on you all the time. And so we've got to create that balance for us to both get what we want.
Yeah. So scaling, I think of restructuring. So you're restructuring a business, and as an entrepreneur, we have an understanding that business is also life.
Yes.
Very, very liquid and very fluid. A lot of carryover into both those areas and spheres. So a restructuring of a business is also very much in the same breath a restructuring of your life and your day to day. Is there a personal example of a time when you've had to restructure your life, or when you've restructured the business to make accommodations for things that you'd like to do outside of the business?
Absolutely, 100%. This has been an ongoing journey. Okay, so obviously just seasons in life. I started the business when I got married. Don't do this at home. First year married, first year business. Talk about taking on two big things at one time.
Yes.
But obviously then seasons in life also force you to make adjustments. So obviously one of the biggest season changes in my life was when I became a mom. And the first year of my son's life was particularly difficult. He had some challenges with birth, and I had to quickly accommodate because I was very much, a work all night kind of person, just push through, achiever mindset, and to be able to allow yourself space to say, this is the season I'm in now. I have been gifted with something so beautiful. This was my child. And I needed to come to terms with the fact that it's okay to hold another ball that is a crystal ball. So my business was like a crystal ball that I was juggling, right? And now I'd been given this beautiful gift of family, children, and I needed to accommodate that. And so that was a big shift, obviously. But on a slightly lighter note, it's been a constant journey of saying, as a business owner, and I'm just speaking from an entrepreneurial perspective, you want your business to give you time and money. Sometimes we get time and then we got no money, right? And other times we've got all the money in the world because the business is pumping, but no time. And so this mix of balance, and this really speaks to mental health, it speaks to inspiration for what we do, the desire to continue doing what we're doing, is if our businesses are giving us time and money, and we get that balance right, we're in it for the long haul. You know, if you've got time and no money, you can't be in it for the long haul. And money but no time is not often sustainable, and we're going to question what we're doing. And so right from the beginning, living a relatively different life and not being too worried about challenging the status quo, we said as a couple we want to go away every 6 weeks. Every 6 weeks we want to go away. So my husband's also in his own business, and this was quite different. And funny enough, the other day, still today, 25 years later, someone came to me and they said, you're in travel, aren't you?
Oh, really?
And I was like, I'm so glad you think so, but Facebook is obviously telling a different story here. But we wanted to make memories as opposed to have things. So we said, okay, we're going to prioritize as a family, and we've continued this. So you're talking about scaling and adjusting things to accommodate business, but also life, and to balance that kind of thing. So we started off like every other married couple, probably like everyone, hopefully, borrowed furniture. You know how we do it when we first get married. It's like,
hand-me-downs.
Exactly, 100%. And so our journey with that was camping. But we went away every 6 weeks, a weekend away. We went different places and we pitched our tent, and we just made such beautiful memories. And then the kids came along and we carried that on. And we always had something to look forward to. We'd be in the car and the kids would say, where are we going next, you know? And we'd tell them, oh, no, we're going here or there. And it was very humble beginnings, but we did that. And this thing of balancing work-life, we battle to get it. But if you unashamedly commit to what's important to you, our businesses were so important, but so is our family, so are we as a couple. You know, you got to make sure you treasure those things while you're building a business, and a lot of people get sucked into that. And we also had a tendency to do that, which is why we intentionally prioritized this time away. And 25 years later, we're still doing it.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So, I mean, I know it sounds silly, but this is how I did it. It was the only way I could do it. Beginning of the year, I would literally sit with the calendar and I'd go, right, where's all the birthdays? And we'd pick the weekend closest to the birthdays, because that was definitely priority. Everyone got a weekend away. And so we picked birthdays and weekends away around that. Then I would look at like big holiday times. So obviously, you know, you got your June, July holidays, and then December. Okay, those are the big ones. And then I'd just look for 6-week rotations in between that where there wasn't something. And that was really important to me. So, you know, people say, well, how can you do that? Like, it's such an unorthodox way to think. Like, how can you go away every 6 weeks? And we did progress, by the way. We eventually got a caravan, and then and then we moved obviously on to other better places as life progressed, and we were able to. But it gave us such a beautiful balance. Like, it made the hard work in between so worth it, because we knew we were going to have the special time. But then I came to realize that actually I needed that time. That was the time where I got to be innovative, creative. My staff hate when I come back from holidays. They know that I've come back and I've re-strategized, we've revamped, we've been innovative. I get so beautifully injected with new thoughts and ideas when I'm in that space, even if it's just for a weekend. And it's actually beneficial to my business. So now I've gotten to the point where I know that I can't afford not to go, because my business is better when I'm doing these things. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, is when you prioritize things that are important to you, that's really key. But when you have time to just think, and many entrepreneurs don't do this, you can't think, you're just on the treadmill. But if we do things that are different, and we say, well, I'm going to be unapologetic in the fact that we go away every 6 weeks, it's a case of that being good for business too, not just from a rest perspective. It was just like often it was just a weekend away. But the innovative thought, the new ways of thinking, just the clarity of thought from being in a different space without your normal to-do list, and away from home where you've got another to-do list. Yeah. That one, you know, the weekend to-do list is as real as the weekday to-do list, was beneficial for my team and for the company as well. I really want to encourage a lot of people who are in business, whether you're employed or whether you are an entrepreneur, do the stuff that makes you come alive, and might not be a weekend away. It might be becoming a tourist in your own town. So I actually put out a thing some time ago, and I said to everybody, try every 2 weeks to do something that the tourists do in your town. And it doesn't need to be the stuff that you're paying for, right? How many people haven't walked the Durban promenade in how long, especially if they're not living in town? Like you say to them, we go down every 2 weeks and we walk the promenade at least, with the family. And they're like, you go down to the beach, really, But do the things that people are doing in your own town that you're not doing. And a lot of that stuff is free. It doesn't have to be expensive. A lot of people are living on budgets at the moment. But this doesn't have to be expensive. And just getting out there, just expanding your mindset and enjoying what's around you unlocks your mind to think of new ways, new things, and be unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel like busy is overrated, and it sounds so good to say to people, oh, I'm so busy. And you are busy. We were having this conversation before. Yes, when you are in business, the 4-letter words that are so good for your business is busy and work. But rest is also a 4-letter word that is critical for your business and for you. And be unapologetic about the balance.
Yeah, a couple things there. So being unapologetic and being busy. I read a book called Slow Productivity by Cal Newport. And he speaks about exactly this sort of thing, designing your lifestyle and then working back from there. But he said that being busy is not a proxy for being productive.
Absolutely. 100%.
And I was like, man, hit the nail on the head right there. You don't need to be busy to be productive. And that is such a crucial part of lifestyle design and challenging the status quo and your own limiting beliefs and mindsets around how to get things done. So the fact that you were able to take space away from the business on a regular basis allowed you that opportunity to be super productive from a visionary and a creative standpoint that you otherwise wouldn't have had that opportunity to do in the 6 weeks in between the holidays, because it's the endless to-do list of urgent, important things that always slip into that quadrant. What's important, not urgent, urgent and important, and they're just urgent, important always seems to be super, super busy,
exactly.
Right? Another thing that came to mind about new experiences, Lisa and I did this thing a couple of years ago now. We should probably do it again. We decided we were going to do 10 new things that we'd never done before every weekend for 10 weekends. And it was like, it could be anything. It could be going for a walk that we've never been to some reserve. It could be going for a walk on the promenade, part of the promenade that we've never been to. It doesn't have to be something that you pay for, just like you said. And it's really quite an exciting thing to do. And you're quite right, it encourages development as well. I mean, there's research that has come out now. I had a psychologist on the podcast not too long ago, and she had, at that stage, a toddler. And they found that when they took their toddler away to different places, they would have a developmental leap.
Oh, wow. Sure.
Yeah, because that stimulation of a new environment, and think about what's happening in the brain from that perspective. And if you've got to wonder if it's happening to kids and toddlers, it's going to happen to adults as well. So being able to think about different things and reframing things and repositioning your stance on certain things. What about challenging the status quo, your own mindsets? We get quite dogmatic sometimes about the things that we can and can't do. For example, this isn't relating to the question necessarily, but an example is it's a 5-day work week. You have to work a 5-day work week. Why? Well, that's just because how it is. We have to work from 9 to 5. Why? Because that's just how it is. So, and people put these limiting mindsets and boundaries in place, similar to the mindset that I had earlier about entrepreneurship and somebody who doesn't want to be an entrepreneur. What would you say to people who need to be told that it's okay to challenge the way that things are currently?
Well, the whole thing is there's this discontent, right? They're obviously feeling like they want to do something, but they're not going to do it. And so my first question would be is why not? So what is the fear that's holding you back from asking the question? Have you got an open relationship with the person you want to ask the question of, which in this case would be like your boss, if you're asking for promotion or you're asking to negotiate hours? I think first of all would be to question that is, why am I fearful? Has this person actually ever made me fearful?
Yeah.
Is it your own mindset that goes, oh no, that's not the done thing, so I'm going to trigger a response that I don't want, so I'd rather keep quiet? Has that person actually made you feel like that? Maybe they haven't, and so it's all in your own head. So first of all, why are you fearful? And has the person given you reason to think that? And then what we've come to see with a lot of entrepreneurs, bosses, business owners, is that they're understanding this need for some flexibility in the way we do things. So to that point, I've actually got a couple of friends that are in business that have created a different working cycle based on the fact that they want to keep their good staff. And so they've created different working cycles, and they just had the conversation. The key thing is that it's fair for everyone, and that it's, that will be at the forefront of an entrepreneur's mindset. But to be a little bit more generic around that is, what's holding you back, and is there valid reason for having the fear that's stopping you from doing it? My next thing is, what's the worst thing that could happen? Surely the worst thing is a no, which means you're still where you are now, which is clearly not too bad.
Yeah.
if you're in
still
this
there.
place, right? So what's the worst thing that could happen? So what's your fear? Oh, is it valid? Is it a valid fear, right? But second of all, what's the worst thing that could happen? The worst thing is that you stay in whatever place you are in now, and that can't be that bad if you're there now. So take the chance and put it out there. You might actually create a precedent that could help even those around you. And maybe that's the third point, is maybe your courage will help unlock what is beneficial to others.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's use the example that you used earlier, maybe different working hours. So maybe there's a congestion problem with traffic, and everyone says, well, look, instead of working 8 to 4:30, which is the status quo, can we rather work 7 to 3:30? That would probably work just fine and help everybody, and you're getting the same amount of time, and it's fair for everyone. And what's the worst that could happen? The business owner might turn around and go, well, I just never thought about that, but that's actually great. No problem. So what's the fear? Is it valid? What's the worst that could happen? And yeah, maybe my courage could actually be good for everyone. And I'm going to ask the question that they want to ask, but they just don't have the courage.
Yeah. So when I think about fear, I think about a lack of control, having a whole lot of factors that we don't have control of. And that creates a lot of anxiety. We were speaking earlier off air, about taking heed of and taking stock of the controllables in your life and paying attention to what can you control, and whatever's out of your control, try not to give that as much focus and attention as possible. And that is something that's really, as far as an entrepreneur's journey goes, I mean, there's like this perpetual cycle of I'm trying to plug that hole, and I'm trying to control this, and I'm trying to control that, and what if that person doesn't like the product, or what if what is my competitor doing? There's all of these things that are out of our control to a large extent, that we give energy and focus and attention to, and then we sometimes take our eye off the ball of the things that we can control.
Absolutely.
So what would you speak to that point for me a little bit about focusing on what you can control, rather than being externally focused on a whole lot of variables that are actually not within our control?
So I'd first start off with myself, and to your point a little bit earlier around productivity versus impact. My big question this year to myself has been, what can I do today that is the most impactful? And at the end of each day, I ask myself about, did I do the things that had impact, or was I just on the treadmill? And when you focus on your areas of impact that are within your control, you're making a difference. It lends to the other point of, let others do what they need to do. You do what only you can do. So from a personal perspective, looking at what I can control, we can get so caught up in everything that's on the news. We follow X, we check out, all the news channels, and we can be so bombarded by stuff that's around us, opinions that actually don't impact our world, whether it be a competitor, a client. If we get stuck in that space, we'll never work on what we can work with. So what are the critical things that you need to control, and what are the things you need to relinquish. Other people's opinions of you are not, they don't matter. They're not your business. The only people that really matter when it comes to opinion is the clients that you serve and your family, in my opinion, family and friends, right? But we sometimes get so rattled by someone else's comments or what they say. The question is, do they really matter? Does that news thing really matter that I read this morning? Does it impact my business? If it impacts my industry or my business, 100% I'm going to do something to counteract it. But we get so consumed with stuff that's just noise, and we need to actually shut out the noise. I'm seeing almost like this visual picture of us putting on these noise-cancelling headsets,
Yes.
much like we've got now. But cut out the noise and go, what really is important, what matters, and what can I do about it? If you cannot do anything about it, let it go. Let it go. If you can do something about it, get stuck in and work on it. You know, I think about the things in business that really count. Your customers' opinions do count. Those are the people that are paying the bills and keeping those that you employ paid and looked after. At the end of the day, we all work for the customer, including us as the entrepreneur, right?
Yes.
We're all actually employed by a customer. So those are the things that do matter. So I would spend time on the things that really matter. Well, whose opinions matter? What actually impacts us, and focus on those things. Primary focus, I've always tell people, clients equals business, full stop. It's a short story, this thing of entrepreneurship, to be honest. We just get caught up in that little equals sign, you know.
Yes.
Customer equals business. So that's a really important point that you do need to be in control of. So that's first off. Looking at things that could affect your market, could affect your business future. That is important, and to control and to navigate your way around things that could be coming your way. So yes, know what's coming, but control where you position yourself so that you are aware and can maneuver. The things that are really important that you do need to control will be, obviously outside of business, would be your family and your health. Those things you do need to have a handle on. You've got to be in control of those things. So I think it's a thing about prioritizing.
Yeah.
If I was giving someone advice, I'd say, write down the things that really matter in your business and in your personal life, and focus on those things. And anything else that comes your way that you get sucked into, that becomes a distraction, be disciplined in pulling yourself back and going, what's important, what's on my list, and then focusing on those.
Yeah. It comes down to living intentionally, doesn't it?
Very much.
Starting with the intention of, this is the lifestyle that I'd like to live. For example, go away every 6 weeks. The intention of, what type of family would I like to have? What type of father would I like to be? What type of husband would I would like to be? What type of boss? What type of customer would I like to have?
Yes.
Because I think, yes, a customer equals business, but you get good customers and you get bad customers. You get the customers that you work congruently well together and things work very nicely. You solve an exact problem for them, and in return, they don't give you many problems back.
Yes.
And then, of course, you've got the clients where that is maybe not the case.
Yeah.
So what you're saying really speaks to me about living intentionally. And when you live intentionally, you have a full cup. And if you have a full cup, you can project that forward to other people.
100%.
So speak to me about that self-care and designing a lifestyle so that often everything's take, or you're giving away different energies, or you're taking on different energies, and it becomes quite draining.
Yeah.
When you design your life intentionally, you then have an opportunity to project yourself positively onto other people. But you can only do that if you take care of yourself first. So speak to me a little bit about self-care, navigating self-care in the world of entrepreneurship.
Such an important point. I always tell people, especially entrepreneurs, you only get one body. I call it your vehicle. You only get one vehicle to live out your purpose. And if you're not looking after that vehicle, you can't fulfill your purpose. So being a very purpose-driven person, and a lot of entrepreneurs they believe so much in what they do, that we have to look after the vehicle that we carry that purpose in. Otherwise, we're not going to fulfill it. And so this has been a journey. I mean, I mentioned earlier that, it was all-nighters kind of stints, and it's not sustainable. It's not good for your health, it's not good for family, it's not good for relationships. And very often, and I'm speaking out of experience, we learn the hard way. When we hit a wall and we're like, okay, this is not a good place, either relationally or physically, or even emotionally and mentally. You're just so drained. You've given everything to something you believe in so deeply, and you didn't top up to give out. And that's been something that's been quite close to my heart, is this topping up to give out. If you're not topping yourself up, you're going to have no reserve to give out. So practically, what does that look like? It's actually quite funny. Just this month, I have a new PA, office coordinator, and I sat her down on her second day and I said, I need to tell you the rhythms of my life so that you understand and why I do what I do. Because if I don't do this, it's not good for you and it's not good for the business. And it comes back to that question again of, can I afford not to look after myself? No, you can't, because you have responsibility to those you employ. And often we use our business as an excuse not to look after ourselves. Mm-hmm. But can you afford not to look after yourself for their benefit? You actually have to look after yourself for them. So it changes this thought pattern around, I'm doing it for them, this busyness thing, but actually looking after your well-being and health, I'm doing it for them too. So what does that look like? Personally, I love walking. So I'm a walker. I think when I walk, I live in Kloof in Durban. And for those of you who know Kloof, we've got some really nice challenging hills. So this is not just a walk in the park.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. So every morning, as many as I can, I head out as the dawn cracks. And my most favorite thing is getting to the top of one particular hill where I can see the sunrise. And it's just such a beautiful way to start the day, mentally, physically, emotionally, to get that 45 minutes to the hour in the beginning of the day where not many people are already hounding us for stuff at that time at 5:30 in the morning. But it sets my day. It sets my mindset. I clear my head. I have good thoughts. I think about the day ahead. And there's such clarity that comes in that moment. So you've worked out your body. You've worked out your mind as well. So there's been beautiful things around you that have just set the day right. And it's like we're all South Africans, we love a good rugby game, even a soccer game when it comes to kicking. The kicker knows how the rest of the kick's going to go by the way he connects with the ball. So I always think about that from the morning, is if I start my morning right, I have a good idea that the trajectory of my day is going to be good. So it's like the kicker when they connect with the ball. The way their foot connects with the ball determines the trajectory of the ball and whether they're going to score or not, right? And it's the same in the morning. If you start the day right, the trajectory of your day should be better because you've physically, intentionally aligned it. So that's very, very important, is looking after that. Obviously, simple things that would make sense to you, but often get left behind is the intentionality of packing lunch, making sure that it's the right stuff. I always tell entrepreneurs, you don't want to just fill your body. You need to fuel your body. And very often, and I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, they're so busy, they're running from pillar to post. They grab this, they grab that, and I'm going, well, did that actually feed you and fuel you? I think it filled your stomach, but why do you get the 2 o'clock slump like most of us used to get?
100%.
Are you productive between 2 and 3:30? You just feel stuck, you get that slump. It's because you haven't fueled your body. So, it sounds so practical and simple, but this is the stuff that's made real changes. And the days that I haven't drunk enough water, I feel dehydrated. What's the first thing that happens when you feel dehydrated? You feel tired. You don't feel innovative. You can't come up with solutions. You can't think on your feet. So looking after your body is so important, and I've realized the value of that. And so it's become a priority in the busyness of running a busy business and looking after an international organization here in the country, that those practical steps are so important. So looking after what you have. Speaking to that, I think you just need to really intentionally do what's right for the vehicle that carries your purpose and listen to it. It's like in your car. You've got a dash with all those lights and that for a reason.
Yes.
And when a light comes on, it tells you that something's going on with the car and you need to fix it so that the car can keep serving you. And it's the same with your body. So, and it's hard to do. It's intentional for me personally. I have to make space for it. I have to be intentional. Sometimes 5:15 is not my friend. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. But 10 minutes into it, and I'm so grateful that I'm on the road. because that's actually where I reset, and it's actually my happy place. And you just got to be intentional about it. And it serves you. You cannot afford not to do it. And it also makes you feel like you've got some balance, some life, like not just four walls and a computer screen, you know. Like, actually, I did get out. I chased the sunrise this morning. I got there. I heard the birds. I met some people along the way that were jogging, and I said hi. There was a sense of community. And it just gives you that feeling of humanness, not just working.
Yeah, that's so important, eh? And I'll add a little bit to that. If you change your state, you get different answers. So the answer I might arrive at to a particular problem in business or in life before a workout will be a different answer, a different solution to the same problem after I've got a workout.
Yeah.
If you change your state, you get a different solution. And I think that is exactly what you're saying right there. And then they've done some studies. I can't remember which book this was from. I suspect it doesn't matter. But they spoke about judges, and they would sit down, and when they would rule in favor and grant an appeal or not. And the long and the short of it is the cases that came across their desk, they were more likely to throw that case out versus grant the appeal that had their lunch break.
Sure.
And these are people that are supposed to be as objective as of anybody in society.
Yes.
And even they are subjected to certain biases because the lights are going off on the dashboard.
Correct.
And as a result, they come to a different answer to a particular problem. And no doubt the same as with entrepreneurship and self-improvement at large.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite questions, I love this one, and everybody's going to get bored of me asking this. But is there anything that you've changed your mind on recently?
Sure, that is a good question. That I've changed my mind on.
Yeah, could be anything. Personally, in business, an opinion on something.
I can't think of anything right now, I'll be very honest.
Yeah, that's okay.
Be very
That's
honest.
also part of the
Yeah.
That's also part of the answers.
I think the reason for that is, and I don't want to say like recently, but I'm very blessed to be in a tribe of people who are constantly questioning things to be better than they were yesterday. And so when you ask me about recent things, I can't say recently, but I think that's because I'm constantly doing that and have done that for a very long time. And I think the answer would be I've done a lot of it, which has got me to the point now where I live an unapologetic life, and I hope that it would be an inspiration to other people. But changing my mindset on things has been a constant progress point for me to this point. So it's not that I haven't done it, I've done lots of it to get to where I am now. And that just talks to also who you surround yourself with. And I think that's so important, is to be around people who will tell you the truth, will speak life into your life, but also bring you reality checks when they're concerned, and to surround yourself with people that are not afraid to help you challenge your status quo. And I have changed my mind on a lot of things, like the working hours and when productivity versus impact, and busyness, urgent versus important. These questions have been a constant thing. And I also want to highlight just the importance of your tribe. Your tribe is really important to this kind of journey, and that you're going on this journey together, and the honest mirror that they hold up for you to say, Adele, is that the best way to do things? Do you think that's serving you best and serving your business and serving your family? Like, we can see you running yourself into the ground. Do you think that's really a good thing? We can see you taking this trajectory. Do you think that's the wisest thing? And so changing my mind has been a constant thing. But a lot of those questions came from really good people in my life that had the courage to ask the right questions, that I was maybe too close to a situation to even think that I needed to ask those questions. And so it's a constant journey, and has been. And I'm sure if you ask me in another 3 months' time, I'll probably have another yes for you. But it's a very powerful question. And maybe the point here is that we should be doing it because not every thought or every way of living is necessarily right. And seasons change. And sometimes you've got to be flexible with that to say, I'm going to move with this because for that season it was right, but not for this season. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to change my mind. Maybe being a lady does help with that. On a lighter note, we're allowed to change our mind about a few things.
Yeah.
And I think being exposed to other people's thoughts and their experiences allows you to view your life through their lens and help you to make better decisions around changing your mind on things. You know, sometimes you haven't lived that experience yourself, but living it through a friend or helping them through it really helps you to go, well, maybe I need to be more flexible on that thought, you know, more accommodating, maybe even a little bit less judgmental, because now I understand the journey.
Yeah. I think there's so many things and decisions and conclusions that we come to purely on our own inherent and subconscious biases that have been passed down sometimes from family members, from other people, from teachers, from other influences in our life growing up, that our default is a certain way, and we don't necessarily question why that's our default often enough. And there's lots of good defaults and there's lots of not so good defaults.
Yeah.
So to question them regardless, because you need to be able to decipher sometimes the good ones from the not so good ones.
Yeah.
If people want to get in touch with you, if they want to get in touch with your business and your company, maybe some speaking gigs, that sort of thing, where can people find you?
So I do have a business website and then a speaking website. So the business website is www.successco.co.za. It's short for the Success Company, successco.co.za.
I'll put the link in the show notes.
Thank you, because some people get confused with the cocoa in there.
Yeah.
And then adelebenvie.com. So the link will be obviously in what is shared. But I think the main thing is that, you know, I just want people to walk away living courageous lives. And the journey that we all work, whether we are an entrepreneur or whether we are placed in employment, I think the biggest question you can ask yourself is, how am I impacting the world around me today? And to find that one thing that you are supposed to be doing, and whether you're doing that through your business, leading a team, or whether you are in a business or whether in your family, what is the one thing that I can say today I did that made a difference to someone's life? And I think if you can clock up 365 of those every year, it'll make you realize how important you being human in a world around you is.
Yeah.
And so it's so rewarding, and maybe to make a note of it, not as a boastful thing, but as a private diary, because it makes you intentional for the next day that follows, is how am I going to make a difference today? And when we can start living with that intentionality, and you can be intentional about it, but also not document it, but just keep a record of, okay, I touched someone's life today. What I like to do is I like to go back in at the end of the year, and one of the reasons why I put everything on Facebook is actually not for everyone else. It's because it's a lifetime repository of memories, right?
Yeah.
It's not to showcase it. It's actually for my memories to look back on. And to look back on either what you've done in someone's life or to look even back on your own memories. It's such a walk of gratitude when you get to the end of the year and you look back and you say, this was a great year because I lived it intentionally. So what's important to me is making a difference in people's lives and creating memories. And so those are two things that I do. So I write those things down because those are important to me. And at the end of the year, you look back and you go, wow, this was a great year, not because I'm great, but because I had the privilege to be able to touch lives and make memories this year. This was a great year, but now how am I going to do it again next year?
Yeah, what a wonderful way to finish that. Adele, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Keep doing the awesome work. Well done.
Thanks, Clinton. Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Hey everyone. A huge amount of work and effort goes into producing this podcast, whether it's from the research going into the episode, whether it's finding the guests coming to the location, or them being online, to producing the content, edited and putting it in a format that is conducive to your ears and your eyes. And it goes a really, really long way if you can just do me one thing in return for this free content: share it. Share it far and wide, and if you find an episode useful, send it to someone who might feel the same way. That's all. Thanks a million. See you next week.